I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending November the 15th, where China's hungry, and because of this African swine fever that's really decimated their pork herd there, they are finally getting to the point where they've got to do something. They've started allowing Canada to send their pork and beef. They'd had that shut off here several months ago, if you remember that. They just opened that right back up, didn't really say too much about it, just said that they were going to open it up. They've made a big chicken order from us, and that's kind of out of the ordinary. They're ordering a lot more protein product from Brazil, Australia, places. And I tell you what, they've just lost so much of their herd. We think maybe 60%. It could be worse than that. It's hard to tell, but even if we're not able to send just big shipments of beef right over there, it's still going to help us with our beef demand as if we need it. The beef demand's out of sight right now as it is, but we're going to fill in behind that, because anytime you start sending some protein somewhere where it hasn't normally been going, then that leaves a hole behind it, and we'll fill in behind that. But you know, all of our fundamentals are just pointing straight up, and we got into this week, and we knew that the board was going to retrace some of those gains that we've seen the last couple of months, and we've been looking for that. You know, a day down a quarter or something is not going to do it. But we have such short memories in this business, both good and bad. But it hasn't been that long ago this volatile board could move limit one way or the other, and people didn't pay that much attention to it. But we've been in this nice, steady, slow, positive gain here for the last couple of months, and it kind of lulled everybody to sleep. And then we got in the middle of this past week, and the board was down pretty hard, and it scared everybody. Guys decided to fall for steady money on their fat cattle. Kind of lost our momentum. We've been gaining a buck or two going along here for quite a while, and we kind of lost that. Now we've got Thanksgiving right upon us, which is going to kind of put another speed bump in the road, and then we don't have a whole lot of business weeks there to make some gains in December before Christmas and New Year's is there. But let's look at the board for last week. December live cattle futures, Monday was up 62, Tuesday down 12 cents. Wednesday, when we saw the big drop there, your live cattle for Wednesday on December was down $1.65. Some of your out fronts was more than that. Thursday back up 97, gained you know, more than half what it lost just on Wednesday. Friday up 2 cents, didn't do anything Friday. But December live cattle futures ended the week at 119.10, only 15 cents less than where they had ended the previous week. February contracts 124.97 at the end of the week, down just a nickel. So you know, we didn't lose really anything on the board. It was just that one day in there, and it killed our cash trade. November feeder cattle contracts, Monday was up 57, Tuesday up 22, Wednesday there again down $2.22. And some of your out fronts on your feeder cattle were down over $4, and that was bad. January was, and really shaking people up. And you know, what the heck? You know, we've been through these volatile futures markets before, but we just kind of got used to those slow, steady gains. Thursday, November feeder cattle were up $1.05, so gained a lot of that loss back. Friday off 37 cents. But at the end of the week, November feeder cattle contracts ended at 146.25, down just 75 cents for the week. January, though, down harder, 144.27, down $1.60. Your fat cattle trade through Thursday, 61,400 head. We didn't have the late week trade so much as we normally do. Most of them sold on Wednesday and Thursday because your packers were able to get your cattle feeders to start pulling the plug at steady money. That was a gift to them. They thought they were probably going to have to give up another buck or two. But on your live sales through Thursday, which the bulk of the sales had sold already, But live steers and heifers range from 114 to 117.50. Pretty narrow range. Didn't have the big spread like we have seen here the last several weeks, but mostly live basis 115 to 116. The Southern Plains was 115. That's steady. Some 116 in the Northern Plains. That's basically steady too. And your weighted average through Thursday on live steers and heifers, or on live steers, was 115.15. Dress sales, steers and heifers from 180 to 182.50. That's pretty narrow, and mostly all 182. Now that would be a buck higher dress because your big corporate feed yards, of course they're all corporates, but your big four, they were at 181 the previous week and 182 this last week, so that was sure a buck higher, and it was mostly all at 182. And your weighted average through Thursday on dress steers was 181.95, so that gives you an idea. Come back on Friday, which we'll find out that, and we'll wrap all that up here early this week whenever we get the results in. But didn't see any more trade in the Southern Plains. They'd sold all they were going to sell at steady money at 115. Northern Plains of Iowa and Nebraska did have some cleanup sales, about 5,000 apiece on Friday, confirmed. So you can throw another 10,000 on there, and then there'll be a few more scattered around. We'll probably have about 75,000 for the week last week, and that's disappointing because remember the previous week we had about 100,000, and that was getting kind of back where we'd like to be. But box beef cutout values gained ground again. I tell you what, your Packers kind of had a good week because they were able to get their fat cattle bought steady, and they gained a bunch more on their cutout values. Choice cuts, your average trade for last week, 240.66. That was up $3.58 on the average of the trade for the week compared to the average of the previous week. Late in the week on Friday, it was even higher than that at 240.80. Selects 215.52, your average trade for the week. That was up nearly $4 compared to the average of the previous week, but it did fall back a little bit at the end of the week. Your Friday afternoon cut value on selects was 214.33. Choice select spread a little over $25, and just kind of a moderate movement of 517 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Your slaughter was impressive. One of the biggest weeks we've had. Again, 657,000 head. That was 6,000 more than the previous week and 9,000 more than the same week a year ago when we had all the plants back up. We still don't have Finney County Tyson up at Holcomb, Kansas there. They keep talking about it. They're in there rummaging around. They've made a lot of renovations. They're kind of hinting that they're getting ready to start, and like I've been projecting, they're gonna drift it in. They're just gonna start a little bit here and there because basically they've refabricated a whole lot of that plant. So they're gonna have to kind of get the kinks out of it again, but they're just gonna kind of blend it in here with the holidays and try to limit any kind of extra demand that we might see from that. But back here in the friendly confines here in Canyon, Texas, I did have quite a week of travel. Had some production sales all over Texas there, middle part of the week, and then was up in North Dakota over the weekend at the I-Band convention there, which is independent beef producers there. And had a good visit with those guys. I tell you what, they are muddy up there. And they are looking forward to some really cold temperatures just to get some solid ground so they can get out there and get the last of their beans and corn out. And but they've been awful muddy, not cussing the moisture that they received here late in the summer and through the fall, but it was unprecedented. A lot of them said they hadn't seen that much moisture in a long time. A lot of the hay that they put up, not going to be very good quality because just weren't able to get it dried out very much. But when I was traveling through Texas there, was able to stop and see my old friend Ellis and Carter there in Santo, Texas, and stop and take a look at his shipping facilities there. I've been kind of giving you guys an idea of what cattle are costing. You know, we talk about the high cattle, these one iron big strings of cattle up in the Midwest and the Northern Plains all the time. And a lot of the guys in the Southern Plains are, you know, some wheat pasture grazers, guys like that, just want to know what you could order some calves from a shipper from. And Ellison's nice enough to give us an idea of what those cattle are costing there. He was telling me this week on some averages on some calves that he was sending out, that all these prices would be delivered to the Panhandle or delivered up in Oklahoma, delivered to the wheat pasture. And we've passed November 15th here over the weekend. That's your date you can normally turn out on leased wheat. And so you'll run from November 15th up till March 15th, and then you'll have to get them off because if they want to make a crop, they don't want you out there any longer than that unless it's a graze out deal. But let's talk about some heifer calves there. These would be the #1 Okies. You know, they'd be colored up a little bit, put together, of course, and most of them wouldn't be weaned. But you know, look at some of the calf quality here. There, it's actually better than what I had in my mind. There, he was showing me some calves that he had in his barn there, and a lot of these cattle coming in from sales all over Central Texas. He's got around 50 order buyers out everywhere, and then also got a lot of people right around Santo. There would be west of Fort Worth or west of Weatherford, just bringing calves in and dropping them off right there at his pens. And I tell you what, pretty good kind of calves, guys. But this is the kind of calves you'd be getting. And on the heifers, he had a load there, average 350 pounds a head, about $1.40. That'd be delivered. Load weight 465 at 130 1/4. Some 525 pound heifer calves, 123 1/4 delivered. Load weight 575 at 118 1/4. And some bigger heifer calves where they're weighed 645 on the average at 117.75. That's delivered to your place there if you're in the wheat pasture country. And then steers and bulls, #1 Okie kind there, a bunch weighed 370 pounds on the average at 160, 405 pound average at 153. Some light 5 weights averaging 515 at 140. That's delivered. 542 pounders at 134.75, and then some bigger steer and bull calves there, mixed 630 pounds delivered at 125.75. That kind of gives you an idea. And you know, you guys know that there's all different kinds of cattle out there, and those are coming out mostly out of those sales. They sell them one at a time from small producers there in Central Texas. But let's talk about what else is going on this week. I want you guys to, I'm going to tell you guys early because I want you guys to take notice of that. We're going to be broadcasting on DV Auction for the first time, Nevada Livestock Marketing in Fallon, Nevada. And they've got a big special this Thursday, the 21st. They got around 4,000 head, be mostly calves coming off that dry desert there. And they've been pretty dry out in that country and out in California. Be hard light cattle, a lot of hard light cattle, and most all of them will be weaned, and good kind, guys. If you're looking for some hard weaned calves on the thin side, and you're wondering where you can find them, he said that they'll be mostly Angus, black and red Angus mixed, and some Charolais crosses in them, but the right kind. About 4,000 head of them there out of Fallon, Nevada at Nevada Livestock Marketing. I talked to Jack Payne there. I've talked to him several times over this deal. We've got them all set up. You can view and bid on that sale right there at Fallon, Nevada on Thursday. Just log on to dvauction.com. You'll be able to see those calves, get a good idea of kind of what you're getting there. Be plenty of them to go around. This is the first time they've ever done this. And I'm really hoping that it helps their sale, because they're sitting in a part of the world where there's just not a lot of people there. But I tell you what, you can put wheels under those calves and get them where they're going, and you might be surprised how reasonable they are. But be sure and get on and watch that sale on Thursday. What else is going on? Joplin Regional Stockyards got a big sale on Monday here. 6,500 head. They start bright and early, or might be dark and early. 6 a.m. in the morning, they get started in there. They like to get done. They don't want to hang around till noon and then get started and then be up half the night and trying to load trucks in the middle of the night and get them going. They get started early in Joplin. 6 a.m. They'll be on bunches, big strings by 7:30. 6,500 head there for Monday's sale. And then don't forget, this Thursday also, they've got a big primetime video at the Downstream Casino at 1 o'clock on Thursday. About 12,000 head on the video there. Colby Flat's got that put together, and they've got some awful nice cattle on there. That you can also get to that at DV Auction, or you can go on to Primetime Livestock Videos, their website, and get onto the same console to view and bid on that sale. So remember, both of those sales on Thursday. Talk about your feeder cattle market for this past week. Real-time index ended the week at 145.63. That was up 67 cents for the week. Your cattle in your sale barns for the week mostly steady to $3 higher. We started out the week with that bad cold snap and that brisk wind that just cut right through you. And in the plain states, I mean from top to bottom, it was so cold you really didn't care to be out in it, and not too excited about getting your calves to the sale or buying any. And it hurt the market early in the week. It started coming around about the middle of the week, and didn't really pay any attention to the board being down middle of the week, because your cash feeder cattle auctions were gaining ground at the same time that your board was going down, and your fat cattle guys were caving in at steady money, because they had the good strings and the beautiful weather the middle part of the week, and guys were getting in and buying those. Your demand is a lot better in the northern plains, of course, as your farmers up there are starting to wind up their harvest. More and more of them are starting to put their combines away. They're getting ready for their winter project. The only money they've made the last several years has been on cattle that they backgrounded or fed. So they're going in and they're putting orders in, or going into the sale and buying their favorite strings of cattle. And we saw some good demand, especially late in the week on Friday. Really hot market on calves. And even the balling calves, and I'm preaching to you all the time that you need to get your calves weaned, you need to get them worked and all that. But it's getting late enough the year now, and we've had enough weather here this fall that the buyers are not as scared of them ballers as they were several weeks ago. They'd still sure rather have the hard weaned calves, but they are starting to come around on some of those long strings of ballers, and some of those outfits just have so many head there. It's hard to have that much facility to really get those cattle weaned and take care of when they're coming off big ranches there. But one of the sales that was really hot on Friday was Fort Pierce, South Dakota. 7,600 head there, and compared to the previous week where they had a little bigger sale, they had over 8,000 the Friday before. But your calves were $3 to $6 higher, spots 8 to 10 higher. So that just tells you how much more demand is coming in. The trucks are being freed up a little bit. Guys can kind of get some trucks and get the calves where they need to go with them, and they're starting to get kind of finished up with their harvest. So a lot better demand in the northern plains. Your wheat guys, for the most part, already bought their wheat pasture cattle, unless they're just going to buy some and straighten them out on the wheat. But if you're going to lease that wheat, you've got to get them out there as quick as you can and start trying to make hay while the weather's good, because there'll be a lot of times during your grazing season on the wheat pasture that they won't gain a whole lot, and it'll really be just a spot to haul hay to them with no windbreak other than a slick wire. But at Fort Pierre there on that 7,600 head, they had a load of fancy steers, bigger steer calves weighing 678 at 168.50. But on the bulk of their sale was, of course, 5-weight steer calves. Near 2,000 head of 5-weight steer calves at Fort Pierre averaged 167.27 on all your 5 weights, and that's a pretty good market, because all fall we've been selling most of them in the 150s, but it's starting to get a little bit better here, guys. Another top sale we saw on Friday was Hill City Livestock Commission in Hill City, Kansas. They had some impressive sales on there. I'm going to give you one of them. 64 head of 752-pound steers at 154.25. How about way up in Ramsey, Montana? Montana Livestock Auction there had 88 head of 527-pound steers way up in Montana there at 164.50. That'd be pretty impressive right there. And then St. Ann, South Dakota, Justin Tupper and them there, they had a good sale on Friday too. 5,500 head there. Market was mostly steady to $5 higher. Look at this string of yearling steers here. 214 head of 947-pound steers bring 149.85, and they'd have clicked one more time, we'd have got to $1.50, and that's pretty impressive on some big steers like that. And look at this one load right here, 72 head of 847-pound steers at 156. That's a look at your markets from around the circuit there from Home DV Auction office here in Canyon, Texas. We'll talk to you next week.